Today, we are breaking down everything you need to know about one of the most highly anticipated lunar events of the entire decade, the April 2026 pink moon. It's one of those celestial events that just dominates headlines and totally captures the imagination. But let's be real here for a second. There is a massive gap between the sci-fi spectacle people expect and what actually happens when you step outside to look up. So, we're going to uncover the myth behind the name, the massive interplanetary mechanics at play, and why this specific event is essentially humanity's oldest, most reliable clock. So, let's kick things off with Section 1, the pink moon myth, or expectation versus reality. We really need to address the elephant in the room here, because it's just human nature, right? You hear the words pink moon, and you naturally imagine looking up to find the lunar surface bathed in this incredible, vibrant neon rose glow. It sounds straight out of a movie. But if you're waiting for that majestic color change in April 2026, you'll literally be waiting forever. When the full moon actually crusts the horizon, it's just going to radiate its usual, stunningly brilliant white and golden hues. There won't be a single trace of pink on that sphere. So that picks a pretty obvious question. If the lunar surface looks exactly the same as it did in February or March or literally any other month, why on earth do we call it pink? If there isn't a single drop of pink light up there, why has humanity kept this highly specific, color-coded title alive for centuries? Well, to solve that, we're moving to our next point, Earth's blooming calendar, and looking away from the stars. To actually figure out this centuries-old color mystery, we have to completely stop looking at the sky and look down at the dirt under our feet. The name pink moon is really a historical mirror. It's reflecting a profound biological shift down here on Earth, specifically in the eastern forests and fields of North America. Think about it. Long before we had digital calendars pinging in our pockets every 5 minutes, Native American communities tracked the passage of the entire year by deeply observing their physical environment. They would endure these grueling winters and wait for that harsh, deep freeze to finally crack and thaw. They were watching for reliable, recurring ecological events that basically proved early spring had officially arrived. And that brings us to the actual source of the name. It wasn't about the sky at all. It was about this amazing little plant, Phlox subulata, commonly known as creeping phlox. This is a native North American wildflower that grows incredibly close to the soil. And when it blooms, wow, it aggressively spreads to form these dense moss-like carpets of intensely vibrant pink petals. It's just a sudden, brilliant explosion of color right on the forest floor. And here is where the mechanics of the earth and the sky just beautifully synchronize. The biological life cycle of these creeping phlox flowers aligns perfectly with the lunar calendar. They literally burst into full, vibrant color at the exact time the April full moon rises. It permanently links those bright pink carpets scattered all across the ground with that brilliant white sphere floating in the sky above. So, when we look back at these ancient celestial titles, we realize they weren't just, poetic flourishes. They were absolutely crucial, highly practical survival tools. They allowed early communities to map the biological awakenings of their local environment directly onto the vast night sky. Just seeing that full moon in April signaled the breaking of the deep freeze. It was a clear, undeniable message that the growing season had finally, thankfully, begun. All right, let's shift gears a bit. We're moving on to the interplanetary mechanics, a mathematical lock in space. So the name itself is deeply rooted in local ecology, but the actual mechanics behind the event, those operate on an absolutely massive interplanetary scale. To get a full moon, an incredible cosmic dance has to happen. The Earth slots precisely, perfectly, right between the sun and the moon. And because of this exact alignment, the entire lunar surface facing us becomes flooded by the sun's distant rays, which creates that brilliant, glowing sphere we see from our backyards. I absolutely love how our source material describes this. It isn't just some localized occurrence or a gradual fade. It is, and I quote, a single, instantaneous mathematical lock in the vacuum of space. Just think about that. At one exact microsecond, the geometry of the solar system just clicks into place. For the 2026 pink moon, that precise interplanetary lock happens at exactly 1812 UTC, or Coordinated Universal Time. But, of course, the Earth is a constantly rotating sphere, right? So that single, instantaneous moment in the vacuum of space effectively rolls like a massive wave across our various global time zones down here on the surface. Because of our planet's rotation, we actually get a split schedule for the 2026 event. If you live in the Americas, that 1812 UTC lock means you'll experience the fully illuminated moon on the evening of April 1st. However, if you're over in Asia or Europe, your local clocks will have already pushed past midnight by the time the moon rises, so you're going to be witnessing it on April 2nd. Now, think about what makes a full moon so incredibly special compared to other celestial events. We all get massively hyped about a solar eclipse, for sure. But an eclipse restricts its shadow to this tiny, fast-moving sliver of geography. If you aren't right there on the path of totality, you completely miss out. A lunar alignment, though, that is fully visible to anyone standing on the night side of the planet. It creates this amazing shared sequential experience for billions of people everywhere, rolling beautifully from time zone to time zone. And that brings us to our final section, humanity's oldest clock, and breaking the digital freeze. This grand shared experience is exactly why the 2026 pink moon matters so deeply to us right now, in our modern era. Because, let's be honest, we are living through what you might call the modern disconnect. Digital schedules completely run our daily lives. We rely on the glowing screens in the palms of our hands instead of the natural cycles happening right above our heads. Seriously, when was the last time you literally looked up into the sky to figure out what time of year it was? Our devices have effectively severed our daily connection to the awe-inspiring mechanics of our own solar system. And that is exactly why this event is so vital. The pink moon, this beautiful, bright white sphere rising above the tree line, it serves as an enduring cultural anchor. It pulls our modern, screen-fatigued attention away from technology, and it grounds us back into the original rhythm of the planet. It connects us right back to those early Native American communities who watched the creeping flocks bloom and knew unequivocally that the seasons were shifting. So whether your local calendar says it's the evening of April 1st or April 2nd in 2026, I want to leave you with this one thought. When the deep freeze breaks, will you look past the screen? Will you take just a moment to step outside, face the eastern horizon, and participate in humanity's oldest, most universal method of keeping time? The universe is literally putting on a perfect mathematical display for us, and for once,